People found fairly soon that there were objects that lived in these theories, which weren't just strings, but were larger than that. They actually looked like membranes or surfaces.
The extra dimension Witten added allows a string to stretch into something like a membrane, or a brain for short. A brain could be three-dimensional, or even more, and with enough energy, a brain could grow to an enormous size, perhaps even as large as a universe. This was a revolution in string theory.
String theory has gotten much more baroque. I mean, now there are not only strings, there are membranes. People go on calling this string theory, but the string theorists are not sure it really is a theory of strings anymore.
The existence of giant membranes and extra dimensions would open up a startling new possibility: that our whole universe is living on a membrane inside a much larger, higher dimensional space. Our universe might be like a slice of bread, just one slice in a much larger loaf that physicists sometimes call the bulk. And if these ideas are right, the bulk may have other slices, other universes that are right next to ours, in effect, parallel universes. Not only would our universe be nothing special, but we could have a lot of neighbors. Some of them could resemble our universe. They might have matter and planets and, who knows, maybe even beings of a sort. Others could certainly be a lot stranger. They might be ruled by completely different laws of physics. Now, all of these other universes would exist within the extra dimensions of M-theory, dimensions that are all around us. Some even say they might be right next to us, less than a millimeter away. But if that's true, why can't I see them or touch them?
If you have a brain living in a higher dimensional space and your particles, your atoms, cannot get off the brain, it's like trying to reach out, but you can't touch anything. It might as well be on the other end of the universe.
And it's a very powerful idea, because if it's right, it means that our whole picture of the universe is clouded by the fact that we're trapped on just a tiny slice of the higher dimensional universe.
Leading theoretical physicist Michio Kaku has spent his career analyzing time. He believes a working time machine is inevitable.
We now believe that space and time are not invisible. They're actually a fabric that can be stretched, pulled, and perhaps even wrapped up into knots. If so, then perhaps the dream of time travel is not as preposterous as it sounds.
To build a time machine, we must find a way to manipulate this space-time fabric. Many scientists believe that it's this manipulation that will make time travel not only possible, but inevitable. Geneva, Switzerland. This is CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, home of the world's largest particle accelerator. Scientists from 85 different countries study the subatomic world to understand how the universe works. At this space-age facility, they have been carrying out time travel experiments for more than 40 years. A useful time travel particle is the muon. Muons are high-energy particles produced by cosmic rays which constantly bombard the Earth's atmosphere. Muons live for only about a millionth of a second. Here in CERN, scientists use speed to make these subatomic particles live longer, ultimately turning them into time travelers. Giant accelerators like this one at CERN push the muons to velocities approaching the speed of light. By slowing down the rate of time, scientists enable muons to time travel into the future.
During the early 40s, there are invisibility techniques of a sort in practice. They range from simple smokescreens to an ingenious plan to camouflage airplanes codenamed Yehudi.
Project Yehudi. They equipped 2 aircraft with seal-beamed headlights, more or less, along the wings to brighten the silhouette of the plane in the open sky, and it was relatively successful.
The Navy considers all options to hide their ships from prowling submarines, even the parlor trick of a magician named Joseph Dunninger.
Mr. Dunninger, as a way to get publicity, mentioned he could make warships invisible. And then when he had when he called the press conference to do this, he said, well, they didn't have a warship, and of course, in the hotel room, so he would make a photograph disappear. And he did. He made the photograph of the warship disappear. Well, the military got wind of this and approached him, and he was forced to say that no, he did not really have a way to make warships invisible. But he did mention there were a couple of techniques he had in the back of his mind that might make them a little harder to see. And whatever he told them was kept secret, and Dunninger took it to his grave.
There is another Navy practice that feeds the rumor mill, a technique to hide ships from magnetic mines called degaussing.
Degaussing is a method of running wires along the hull of a ship to make the ship invisible, quote, to magnetic mines.
We always knew degaussing was going to take place because they collect all the watches and clocks. Anything that kept time on the ship was taken off and put ashore, so the magnetic field wouldn't disturb your watch.
Carlos Allende was a merchant marine in the Philadelphia harbor when the Philadelphia experiment was tried.
In his anguished notes, Allende spoke of some terrible experiment he'd witnessed on a ship, named the USS Eldridge, back during the dark days of the Second World War. Author Andrew Strom.
What the men on the Eldridge experienced is nothing like anybody has ever experienced. Nothing. Because death, I assure you, would have been easier to live through.
Back in the early 40s, as World War II raged across the lands and seas, desperate times called for desperate action. Author Al Ewing.
We were in the middle of World War II, and the German U-boat fleet was having a field day, sinking 50% of the shipping going across the Atlantic at that time. And the hope was that by making the ships invisible, both the maritime ships and the Navy ships, they could defeat the German radar and they would not be able to find a target to torpedo.
Allegedly, the ill-fated Philadelphia experiment was the U.S. Navy's first attempt at stealth technology, making a ship invisible to radar.
So this is what they were trying to do, and this is what they did do. They succeeded in it in terms of the actual hardware. The ship became invisible, but the personnel couldn't take the effects. And the effects were unbelievable, phenomenal, and totally unexpected.